this workshop is if your Post-it notes need their own assistant, this workshop is for you. So I want to give you the framework that we're going to be using tonight. It's going to be called REST. And I think that's so appropriate because so many of us are jumping from one thing to the next and have such hectic schedules that we really do forget that our body, our brain, and our soul all need rest. So I want you to have an aha moment right away in the beginning before we even really get started. So I want you to take your paper or your Post-it note, and I want you to write one thing on it that you keep trying to fix with more organization, more reminders, something that you feel like you need more pressure, but the more of, I just need to get it together. Just write one word. Maybe it's energy. Maybe it's your focus, follow through, meal prepping. Maybe it's dealing with cravings, getting better sleep, figuring out scattered thoughts. What about walking into a room and going, why did I walk into this room again? I know I came in here for a reason. Maybe it's your desk like mine. Oh my word. You actually could see the other side of my desk. Maybe it's getting your calendar. I should put desk on mine. So write one word that you just need to get organized. Maybe it's the 47 sticky notes that all seem important, but somehow none of them are actually really solving a problem. Or how about the 100 tabs I have open up on my computer? Am I resonating with any of you right now? I tell you what. So write down just one word. Now, under that, I want you to write this sentence, okay? So I want you to write, what if this is not an organization problem? I want you to write that. I'm going to just do it quick. What if it's not an organization problem? Under that, I want you to write, what if it is rhythm and support problem? Using my friend Jamie's whiteboard example. So what if it is a rhythm and support problem? Now, where you wrote this, I want you just to look at your issue that you wrote down. Mine is my desk. You look at yours and then reread that sentence, those two sentences. Now, the reason I wanted you to write that down is because the very issues that we think we might have may not be the organization. Now, for some of us, it might be, right? Some of us maybe are needing some organization skills. I told some friends last week, I said, I need one of my OCD friends to come and organize my life for me. So, but my point and purpose of this is that so many of, especially women, but I know some men too, are so busy. We're trying to plan harder. We're trying to track harder. We're trying to remember harder. We're trying to push harder. And every time it's not that we need to be have this louder reminder, but our brain and our body are not in sync to have this steadier rhythm, right? So it's the rhythm that we need in order to get the organization that we feel we have to have, right? We can have all the systems and frameworks in place, but if our brain and body are not balanced, those systems are not going to work for us. Does that feel like an aha moment for you guys? I had to really sit and think about that when I was like, why can't I get this cleaned off and together? And I'm like, because when I'm in this space, I am so busy doing the work that I don't get the balance. And when we're when we're looking at our health, we're doing all the things, but our nervous system is not balanced. So it can't function the way that we want it to function. So tonight's going to be different than last week. I'm going to get this off. I forgot to grab my little whiteboard papers because we're going to have more work here. All right. So last week we talked more about metabolism as a whole and like the calories in, calories out fallacy. And I want that was an awareness piece in and of itself. So this tonight is not a repeat of that. But some of the symptoms or some of the ways that we feel, they're going to intersect, right? But I don't want you to think about any of these weeks as what's wrong with me. More, I want you to think about what is the rhythm of support I might be missing. So we're not moving from, I need to have more willpower or I need to have more discipline. I want you to think of it this way. I need a better starting point. All right. I want you to start speaking to yourself from that positive viewpoint, that mind shift. We're so used to talking to ourselves in that negative space, but instead saying, I need to start in a better spot. Instead of, man, I need to be more disciplined. I need to push harder. And instead of saying, I just need to get more organized, instead, maybe saying, maybe my body needs more support underneath these schedules that I've created. And that's a very different conversation, you guys, right? Is this more helpful when you are looking at how your system is starting to function? And is it more practical? It's kinder to each of us because we're carrying a lot, right? And we have that shift. Because I know, and actually I do know all of you in this room personally. So I know that none of you are sitting around doing nothing. And I know you all are trying to do so many things. And I know you all have planners and I know you have sticky notes. I know some of you have been on reels and you have the water bottles and you've put on the walking shoes and you do the vitamins. And that is something, yeah, I know, Carrie, I took that little tiny bio break there in between our meetings. But how many of you also have a vitamin graveyard in any of your cabinets? Anybody? Nobody has a vitamin graveyard in their cabinets?
I don't. That one, I actually take my supplements.
Oh, good.
I do have some like that other people recommended that I was like, no. And then, so there's a couple maybe. Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah.
I as well need your help with that
Yes.
because I have had some that I bought a bunch of stuff, and then I just would use it for a while, and then my body would react differently to it, and I'd stop using it, and it's sitting in there. So
Right.
that's where I need that help getting the natural way. So I just stopped using them. So
Yes. So, and all of us have recipes that, from our ancestors that maybe aren't as healthy. And we might need help converting those to a more healthier version, maybe. Or remember that this is space for grace as well, where we can have some of our ancestral recipes, but do the 80-20 rule, where we're not eating them every day of the week like maybe we used to, but still enjoy them 20% of the time versus 80% of the time. And then how many of us have told ourselves, oh, I really blew it this week. I'll start over on Monday. Doesn't that sound familiar with anybody? Or the New Year's resolution. I never set resolutions. Instead, I do I do New Year's gratitude. And thank God for the year that I had versus setting a resolution that to set you up for failure. Because what do they say? 98% of resolutions are broken within the first quarter of the year. So, yeah. Right. Die to it. Yes. Yeah, I don't do diets because then you have to die to it. So,
And I used to fall for that stuff, but thankfully, a long time ago, I was like, wait, the word die is in there. No, no
correct.
wonder they don't help us.
Right? Right? Yes. All right. All right. So, I want you to also think about that a planner can organize your schedule, but it cannot replace the support that your body needs to carry. So we have to do that for our body, right? An alarm can tell us when to do things. The planner tells us on what day to do things. Sticky notes can remind us what to do. But none of those can replace nourishment. And none of them can feed us. None of them can replace our sleep or our hydration or our minerals. So we have to do those things. But that doesn't mean that the planners and sticky notes are bad. In fact, obviously, if you saw what I posted, you know that I have lots of notes everywhere. But we have tools and systems in place to help support. But it's when those things are frustrating or get frustrating for us, that's when we kind of go off the rails. And again, not short of trying. So by the end of this workshop, my hope is that you will understand why your brain may still feel overloaded and why your energy might still feel scattered and why your body may be asking for that new rhythm. And we will be talking about going into the 5-day challenge that'll be coming up the end of the month, because that will be even more in depth, and actually I'll be walking through each day what we can be doing and putting that into action with the workbook. So hopefully you'll be leaving with a new way to think, a new way to notice, and how to ask your body better questions and clearer answers, and know the reasons and that the next step matters. So to get into the framework of rest, and no, we're not going to be taking a nap right now. I want you guys to stay awake. Although I'm sure that none of you would be objecting to getting to bed right now. All right. So what does rest stand for? The R is recognize what you really are trying to fix. Okay. The E is exchange pressure on that you've put on yourself for support. And actually, this pressure could be outside pressure too, that others are maybe putting on you. So we want to reframe that and change that into having support. And the S is start with rhythm, not intensity. And the T is take the next guided step. So this tonight is not about giving you the entire protocol, but it is about helping you see how we approach the way that health matters in this restful form. Okay. And first, by recognizing what are you trying to fix? So going back to that word that you put down, this is where we think we are supposed to try to fix everybody else, right? Somebody else is not doing something right. Somebody else isn't getting something done. Our kids aren't doing what we want them to do. Our assistant maybe isn't getting their part of our work done. But really, we're tired and we're getting frustrated because we haven't focused enough on ourselves. We forget that we need the rest and that we need to figure out what is pulling us off balance. So actually, we should maybe be looking at, is our blood sugar being regulated during the day? Have we gotten enough sleep at night? Have we hydrated enough during the day? Which actually, feel free to take a hydration break. Are we getting in enough minerals? And especially women moving into the next phase of life, minerals are essential. And how is our body recovering from the stress? So there's a couple of different things. For those of you that didn't grab my morning routine, haven't grabbed that yet, let me know. You can drop that in the comment and I'll make sure I get that to you. And also that helps set up, that gives you, day by day, a walkthrough starting from morning to set up for your evening, because our nighttime sleep starts in our morning routine. And in that, it also talks about hydration and keeping your blood sugar supported. Minerals, we can do that if you live where you can forage herbs, or you have an apothecary, or you want to order the minerals from me. You can blend a mineral tea and drink a mineral tea in the morning, or you can order minerals from a trusted source. And those minerals, really good mineral support is dandelion greens with stinging nettle. Very good mineral support. And it doesn't take much. So those would be herbal minerals that you can take, and they really have a lot. Also, you get a lot of minerals from Celtic sea salt or Himalayan pink salt. Having that in your water, those have really good minerals too. When those things are balanced, your stress recovery is a lot quicker. So that helps fix some of this brain fog and follow through that we are missing. So, all right. The other thing is that our narrowed eating window. So last week we talked about, is coffee your breakfast? And a lot of times we're in a hurry in the morning and we want to grab, a tea or a coffee or whatever. That is not steady nourishment early on in the day. And I am trying to watch the comments. So I see you guys' comments, but we'll keep going. And then if you guys do have questions, you can certainly come off and unmute if you have questions, and then we'll get to those too. But the best way to have a good breakfast, if you want to have a narrowed eating window, keep it to 10 to 12 hours during the day, unless you're cutting, if, for weight reasons. But otherwise, your fasting, your eating window from your intermittent fasting, if you're doing that, then that can be a 10 to 12 hour window during the day that you're eating. And then the rest of the time, then you don't. But your very first meal should start with fiber. Good, healthy fiber, then protein, then healthy fat. And then you can have your carb or your, usually like with your fruit or whatnot. If you eat it in that order, your body knows what to do with it and can metabolize it in a better way. And it digests it better and it metabolizes it better. So that helps your overall body. What's good fiber? Good fiber comes from like cruciferous vegetables. In the morning, like if you are to do like a spinach, broccoli, cauliflower, and then you can add, peppers and onions, garlic, all that kind of thing, and do like a stir fry even, or a fast steam, add it to an omelet, you really have a full breakfast. Or if you do like a quinoa bowl and add those type of vegetables in there with a cracked egg on, a fried egg or a poached egg on top, something fast, that's a really hearty, good breakfast. I don't eat, pork or anything like that, but if you ate pork or steak or something like that, you could even do that alongside that, and you have a really well-rounded breakfast too that way. Then you're really getting in good fiber with the good protein. And then you can add your healthy fat, can be like your avocado or your coconut oil, your olive oil as your drizzle or whatnot. All right. Also, starting your breakfast out with that and having those vegetables be slightly sauteed or steamed, that helps your digestion and helps break down that fiber. Your body can break that fiber down more easily and digest it. So that also helps your body feel more safe, that warmth in the morning and that fullness. It keeps you full longer. And I'm talking morning being, whatever time you start your breakfast. It could be a brunch. It could be, maybe you start eating at noon because that's your fasting window. Totally up to you. And then that goes into being your rhythm. So the problem you're trying to manage may not be the problem your body is asking you to address. So it could be that it just needs this rhythm that is easy to start setting up with the food, the hydration, the sleep, asking itself to stay, more balanced, more safe. And so random tips. How many of you have gotten all these random tips, either from Dr. Google or, all these other internet sources, but you're just picking random tips from wherever. You don't know what source you're getting them. You're just getting them. Anybody?
By the way, what you said, coconut, avocado, and what other oil for fat?
Oh,
Fat?
olive, avocado, and coconut oil.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. The random tips can drive you absolutely crazy because you're picking at them, but you don't know if they're actually helping you. That's like putting in your calendar for work that you need to be doing. And you might have to do all these different things, but you're not doing them in the right order. Let's say you have to go to a meeting on Tuesday, but let's say you had to do dry cleaning for that meeting, but you didn't get it to the dry cleaners till Wednesday. Well, that didn't really help you for your meeting on Tuesday, did it? So that you have the planner, but you didn't have the things in the right order for when you needed them. And that's kind of how our body is responding to what you're doing with it too. You're picking random tips, putting them in the place because you need it, your body needs it, but that may not be helping you. It's like taking magnesium, but there's 5 different types of magnesium, let's say, but you're taking the wrong one at the wrong time and it's not helping, and you want it for sleep, but you're taking the one that you should be taking in the morning at night. So then your body, your muscles can't really relax. Is it helping you nutritionally? Probably. But is it helping you calm down and relax your muscles when you sleep? Maybe not. So these are just different things because that might not be what your body needs at that time. So a reminder may help you remember that thing, but it may not give your brain the fuel, your minerals that it needs for recovery. So before we chase that next solution, we have to recognize what we're really trying to fix. So I want to go back to the thing that you wrote down at the beginning, the thing that you're trying to manage harder, and ask again that first question. Is it really an organizational problem? And if it was like a tangible type thing that you had, like I put down my desk, right? Now switch that to a health. Put a health, erase that one and put something with your health if you didn't in the first place. So it could be connected to low energy, sleep, stress, meals, blood sugar, overload, mental overload. Maybe you have aches and pains. And just read that question one more time. And then read what you wrote down. And does it make more sense now that you put down what you're experiencing? Did that shift for anybody? Or is it the same thing that you had written down the first time? Low energy, not eating the proper meals on a consistent basis. Yep.
I feel sometimes too that when I'm working, I don't have time, like if I'm intermittent fasting, like at 9 or 10, to make a meal like that. That's where I think the prepping would have come in then, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because I don't
Yes.
have that. I'm working now, like I said, in July, I can do this. I can have time to fix all that.
Yes.
But there again, like I said, and that's creating my low energy, I'm sure. I mean, now that I'm, listening to you talk about this, I'm sure that's creating low energy for me. Um, and then when I have low energy, then it just kind of unravels
Right.
when you don't have the energy to do these things. But yeah. So that I just wanted to add that because when you work, you're just like you don't know when you're going to eat, and you want to have a big breakfast at work or smaller. Like, can you ask this or answer this too? Like, I know a lot of people say eat bigger at breakfast and then a little bit less at lunch, and then like a bird for supper.
Yes. There's different schools of thought on that. And then you'll always hear lots of different things. But And that's as the pendulum swings, that's what they call it, as the pendulum swings in healthcare. But our ancestors actually had it correct, and I think they still have it correct, that you eat breakfast like a king, you eat lunch like a queen, and you eat supper like a pauper. And I think we really should get back to that more, because we are not as physically active as they were. You know, we're more of a sedentary civilization now because of the computer age and whatever. Even if we are busy people, we're not as physically strenuous, even if we're busy. Does that make sense to everybody? So because of that, it we don't metabolize at as fast of a rate as they used to. And so they could handle, you know, bigger meals even throughout the day, even at night. But what they would do is they would eat more in the evenings. They'd eat more like a porridge or something like that, you know, that would stick with them. And then they would have that really big breakfast after they went out and worked, did chores or whatever, if you came from the country. And then they'd have that really big breakfast. So, it's easier on your system if you don't have a full stomach, so that it can actually rest and restore and work on repairing throughout the night, because our body is working all night long. It works 24 hours a day. And so if we have this huge meal at supper time, like we had shifted to, or most people, you know, in this area anyway, our body has to digest it. It has to figure out what area of the body it goes to. And it does that. It has to process it all night long. Whereas if we pull back at night, then our body can actually go into rest and digest. And then it can actually finally try to empty efficiently. So does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, the hardest thing is when I got remarried, um, he owns a dojo. So it's like everything was at night and like they're just now getting home. So
Oh,
then
right.
we ate late because I used to be in the karate too, and then I stopped doing that. But now for other reasons, I want to eat with my family, right? And so
Right.
you end up not eating, and it really started messing with me, which is when the coffee in the morning was just like I had a little bit of carbs. I tried to really not add a lot of sugar or anything, and then that way it got me to a place where then I'd eat like a bigger lunch, trying to but the energy, I started noticing I'm skipping lunch because I got working. You know what I mean? The rhythm
Yes.
that's really what I'm seeing a lot in all this.
Yes. And I think I see it in blood work in women that are going into the next phase of life. I see it in the blood work when they are not eating certain hours of the day. Like if they're eating really late at night, I see that more of the stubborn weight. And it's harder for them to shift. And I see it show up in inflammation in the blood work when I look at labs.
Interesting. So what advice would you just not do that? Like sit with them, maybe not eat earlier
Or
kind of thing?
eat
Because I'm
something,
experiencing both of those things.
yes, or eat something that has more protein, no carbs, and eat lighter. So that would be a shift that could maybe be put into place, where you maybe are eating something that might be along the same lines as them, but a little different, that has more protein, or maybe fix a higher protein even for them, because if they are coming from doing that type of workout, they're probably pretty hungry. And they've burnt those calories, as men usually do and kids usually do. But that 2 to 3 hours before we go to bed, if we're eating in that 2 to 3 hour window of time before we sleep, our body really has a hard time adjusting to that. And for women moving into the next phase of life, our body will hold on to that because it says, I don't know what to do with this efficiently. So now I'm going to rob it from your sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you know me. It's exactly
Oh,
what I've been experiencing. And I am in menopause. So yeah, all the things.
all
Thank
the
you.
things. Yes, you're welcome. So that's outside pressure, right? So that's the next part. Exchange pressure for support. So what type of pressure do you need to exchange to help support your system? And so that would be one of the exchanges that you could try and implement into your routine. So you're not giving up that family time at that meal, but maybe you're exchanging some of that pressure that you're getting to have the family meal by either doing a water fast and you're sitting with them, or you're increasing your protein at that meal so that your body still feels supported. And so that pressure isn't it's not you're not having just to push through it or even ignoring it, because that doesn't do anything for your body. That doesn't tell your body that it's safe, and it doesn't tell it's supported. So instead, that support is, you're asking yourself, what am I missing? What are you missing? And what would help? What does my body need first? And what rhythm would make this easier? So if you think about what we just talked about, and you think about those tips, they weren't random. They had a rhythm, they had a purpose, and they would help put your body first. And if you can think about those tips as you sit there right now, for any of you, if those tips make sense, Carrie, if those tips really make sense and you think about it, can you breathe into that? And does that take some of that pressure off your system? If you take a deep breath and think about those tips.
Absolutely. Because, I'm decently self-aware of what's going on inside of me because of the work I do. It's part of how I function. But one of the things that we often don't listen to until it's very loud is our body. And so when I think about that, it's like after last week and this week, it's just reframing every way I'm looking at this and how my body has been trying to get my attention. And I was misreading the signal. So when these are definitely like, oh, okay, we can talk again. Like my soul and my body are talking, and we can actually understand each other better through these things. So yeah, it helps a lot. It brings rest, peace, shalom.
Right.
And I feel like my
Right.
body's like, thank you, Beth.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
And
great.
I think too, all it takes is you getting out of your rhythm and maybe stress at work or family, whatever, and then you kind of go off of it. And then that's where, like Carly was saying, that she wasn't listening to her body until it was like there were symptoms coming up. And that's what I feel like I kind of did too. I just kind of lost track of that.
Yeah.
And also I was thinking, excuse me,
Bless you.
I was out in that coaching soccer, out in that wind.
Oh, and this horrible wind.
Um, but I was thinking too, like I'm used to, and this is not, I'm not proud of this. I'd get home from work and I'd eat earlier, but then I'd do a couple things and then I'd sit and watch TV. Sorry. And then that's when I would eat. or just snack.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm not going to talk anymore because my throat's dry. But
Oh,
yeah, I get the
get a
body
drink.
part. I get that body part too, and getting out of sync and coming back, and it does make sense.
Yeah.
Well, and I think with all the different things going on, like when I first got remarried, I didn't know I was in menopause. Like that happened, like all the actual symptoms that are like classic started happening, and then things started making more sense. So I think misreading the body communication, if you will, on it. But I love this because you're not saying don't eat with your family. And
Right.
that really makes you a functional person
Yeah.
over there. You're, an expert in that way because it's like, that it's not going to work if it doesn't support us all the way around. And then you gave me a way I could do it. And I'd still like to change and alter my rhythms. And then I can use that space for tea. I'm a nighttime tea drinker. And
Yes.
like my chamomile is I do have one that is got some ashwagandha in it too because of everything. And it helps me kind of ease into my sleep time. So that
Yeah.
helps. So
Yeah.
that's huge. And then I wouldn't be staying up drinking that later. Just saying, that would help me too.
Right. Because then you wouldn't have to get up in the night too. Yeah. And we have to, I mean, this blends really well with the questions. What rhythm would make this easier? And what is realistic for this season in my life? So, those are questions that you need to remember to ask yourself. And I always say you have to give you have to give yourself space for grace. That's even on my website, space for grace. Because if you don't, then your body again, it feels shamed. And you cannot shame yourself into the kind of rhythm your body can actually trust. Right? Because if you're shaming yourself, I always say if you're shooting all over yourself, you're not trusting yourself.
I totally say that same thing.
Yeah. So you cannot shame yourself into the kind of rhythm your body can actually trust. So shame just puts added pressure. And I'm not, you might say, well, I don't shame myself. Anytime that you are putting pressure on yourself, it's a form of shame. Your mind takes that on as shame because that's been conditioned from childhood. We've learned that from childhood. So your mind is translating that as shame. And I think women especially, we put on this cloak of shame in so many different ways. So now, when a woman says, I'm going to change everything this week, I always want to say, um, can your life really hold that space? Because I just, I would just really want to ask you, can you really maintain that? Can your nervous system change everything in a week? Can your schedule handle changing everything in 1 week? And could your energy actually hold space for changing everything in 1 week? Is that realistic?
No, because you just stressed everything.
Right. So that's not finding balance. It's not building rhythm. It's not building another cycle. It's just putting you into full-blown exhaustion, right? So another question to write down is, where have I been using pressure? I'm writing it down. Where have I been using pressure when support would serve me better. So this is the question. Where have I been using pressure when support would have served me better? So think of all the areas. Think of your body. Think of your schedule. Where have you been using pressure?
I just used it yesterday. This is gonna sound bad.
It doesn't, nothing here sounds bad. This
Yeah.
is a safe
Um,
space.
so I chose not to weigh myself. That stupid scale, but okay. I chose not to weigh myself for like 2 to 3 months. And I
Okay.
thought, okay, let's see where we're at because I'm feeling kind of gross. And I'm up 9 pounds since September, and that was pressure because then I had a crappy day. And that's
Mm,
what is that kind of makes sense in this? Because I just used that pressure um, when I should have said, hey, you know what? Uh, one day at a time here, instead of shaming myself, like, wow, you really did that. That's terrible. Like, now what? I want to fix it in a day, but I can't. So I don't know. Does that make sense at all?
it actually does. It's one of my bullet points. It says maybe around your weight. I have it written down. Yes. Yeah. So that totally makes sense.
Well, and just a
Any,
vulnerable share over here, it's like I intentionally don't weigh myself because I found that I had been programmed to look at the number and make that equal like fat or some kind of negative word when I know better because muscle weighs more than fat and I have like so I like am careful with myself before I do that. I even like I'm like, okay, I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. You know, I'm not going to let myself judge myself on this moment because right now I'm not where I want to be, but I'll get there, and that has slowly been changing over time, but it's been a lot. So, Cindy, I very much understand. Because I also was experiencing because of the menopause thing, right? And this whole shift you're helping me see the rhythm, Beth, the shift there. And it's like, oh, I had a double whammy going on. No wonder. I was like, how am I not like last week when you were talking about like you hardly eat and you wonder why you're tired, basically. You said it a lot better
yes.
than that. But like I was like, all these things are connected.
Yes.
And I was pressuring myself, I think, because I was fed up. I was
Mm.
like, well, doesn't matter what I eat. I went that route for a while and I was like, yes, it does. Don't do that. Pull back, like so
Right.
I've gone through the process.
All right. Okay. Well, now I want you to write this sentence on that same under what you're judging yourself. I can be honest without being harsh. Now, that sticky note is one to put on your mirror. I can be honest without being harsh. Now, that's important because honesty with ourselves about how we're feeling, like if we're in pain, if we have had a bad day, if we um, ate something that we know wasn't benefiting our body, but it tasted good to us at the time, be honest with ourselves. Say, that did not serve my body well. And now I feel kind of icky mentally and physically from it. But you know what? It tasted good at the minute, and I'm going to move on from here. Be honest without being harsh, because that is important and it moves us forward. Whereas harshness Um, you said it, Cindy. You said, I just felt icky and I had a bad day. That harshness that you put on yourself, it shut you down. And so, to your point, Carrie, you said that you don't weigh yourself because you know that, you hadn't been weighing yourself because muscle does weigh more than fat. And we need to allow ourselves to be honest with ourselves, but then don't judge so harshly. If we know we have work to do, be honest with ourselves. Say, I have work to do and I'm going to do it. But then be honest with space for grace, not with harshness.
Yeah.
And then move on from
And
there.
I know with me through that process, the inner work for me is, who taught you that? Who taught you that that number equaled that? And working through that. And that was really helpful to not be harsh and to release it like you're talking about, so that you're not holding yourself to some standard that is not fair or true.
Right. Right.
You'd think also that when we do like have those moments of I ate that and I feel crappy afterwards, you know, I'm kind of looking back on a couple weeks ago and I just felt like garbage, and I'm thinking, but what did I learn from that now? What did I learn? Because if I'm not learning from these things, I'll continue to do them. And so that's what I'm looking at now, going, okay, I felt like garbage, but now this week I feel better because I've actually chosen to eat better and not have those types of foods. But when you screw up, at least you know that you can get back on the horse. I mean, you're fine. And so by going through those ups and downs, I feel like it kind of helps these things last longer, these rhythms. You know what I mean? If you didn't go through anything, then you're probably like, well, I don't have to worry about anything. But the reality is you have these things, you have setbacks, and it's teaching us to maybe figure out how to get over those faster.
Right. Yeah. And you see those patterns like we talked about last week. It's noticing those patterns and writing them down, like I had mentioned last week. And so that's the biggest difference between how I want you to think and how most health advice is presented, right? I don't want you to start with intensity. I want you to start with this natural ebb and flow, this rhythm. Because a lot of experts, how many of you have seen them on stages or in platforms like, you got to go bigger, you got to go harder, cut more, track more, burn more, do more? How many of you have seen that? You see it from a lot of the big health experts, right?
And then I turn them off.
Right. Because they're like, just, oh, so much. It shuts down your central nervous system. Hi, Nicole. Thanks for joining. And and so we don't need that intensity. We don't need that. What we need is we need the rhythm that brings our body and our brain and our blood sugar and our sleep and our hormones and our metabolism into this rhythm. But we're not seeking perfection. We're seeking this consistent rhythm. And that's where writing things down so we can notice the patterns. And if the honesty with ourselves, if you mess up, you say, I messed up, I'm just honest, but I can return to the pattern. I can notice the pattern. Like Cindy, you said, you ate this and you noticed that you felt icky, crappy. But then when you changed, you noticed that you were feeling better. And so you noticed that pattern. And, we know that in rhythm, you can build consistency over time, where perfection, which we're not striving for, says you have to be exact. I'm not asking for you to be exact. I'm saying eat good fiber, fat, healthy, or good fiber, good protein, healthy fat, and then you can have a carb. I'm not saying schedule this, track that, have this many of this, make it simple so that it's doable and sustainable for you. And then come back at the next meal, the next morning, the next choice. And that's how you can begin again, right? Until you can get into a consistent pattern, a consistent rhythm.
Do you think too that everybody's body's different, everybody's mindset's different, everybody's experiences are different? And so I keep thinking too, like people want to join health clubs, and I'm like, that's cool. But right now, I want to do something that I can sustain. So I like walking outside a lot, and
Yeah.
it's free. but I'm just saying, like, and like you said, the sun and everything. I like to go for walks, and so that's my thing that I can keep. Doesn't matter if it's 30 below. I mean, I'm still going to go for a walk. I just like to do that, get out and move. And so that's sustainable for me. I got to switch over to the food part, and I'm slightly changing, but everybody's body's different. So like you said, when you hear these guys talking bigger, whatever, what's good for your body? What do
Right.
you feel? I mean, sure, I need to be pushed sometimes, but I mean, I guess we all have to think about what's our situations are all different. I mean, like Kari's like, the eating thing with their family at night. I'm lucky because we're kind of like getting into retirement stage where we'll eat at like 5, 5 o'clock, who cares? And that's fine, and then you just feel better if you don't eat anything at night, or if it is anything at all, a small snack or something, and you just feel better. So everybody's body's different. Everybody's metabolism, I mean, it will change over time, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Again, it's finding that pattern and that rhythm that flows best for you within the functional parameters, right? So that we can assist you and come alongside you in your health journey, right? So again, we're not looking for the perfect conditions, because if we're looking for perfect conditions, we would never start on a new journey, right? But we need the repetition, the support, that flowable rhythm, because that's what's important. And so that is why we don't go straight from the workshop and just say, okay, you're good to go. You've got everything you need. That's why we have the 5-day challenge to help support what we've just been doing. And like I said, we're going to have that coming up the end of the week or the end of the month. And I do have a link. I'm going to
I was just
drop.
going to ask you that.
I do. I have it. I know you were asking me for it last week. Let's see. Oh yeah. Hello, Beth. There it is. I just popped it in the chat now. So there is the 5-day challenge link. We're going to be walking you through, and I have a couple of different options in that. So you can go ahead and copy and paste that and pick your experience that you would like. But I'd love to see you guys in the challenge. Feel free to share that with anybody. But we can talk more about that as after we finish here too, about what that looks like. But it's not a diet. It's not a work harder program. You'll get me for an hour each night. It's going to be the five nights. And we're going to talk about the metabolism and energy and blood sugar, the hidden stressors, cravings, inflammation and fatigue, and nervous system support, wellness habits, and then how to stop feeling like your body is fighting against you. And I have a workbook that a downloadable workbook that you'll be able to download as a PDF that you'll also be able to grab. And you'll have access to my Facebook community and also replays. And then I have a VIP experience as well. So you guys can choose your path to join me for that week. But there you go. The difference between the two choices is The standard challenge access is you get all of everything that I just said. And then I have a VIP experience that you can upgrade to. And in the VIP experience, you get everything I just talked about, but you'd also get an additional live VIP hour. Now, the difference between the workshop and the standard 5-day challenge is during that 5-day challenge, that is going to be a teaching event with, it's not interactive during the standard challenge. But during the VIP experience, that first hour is interactive, where you can ask questions, you can interact with me like we are doing now. So it's an extended teaching where we can go deeper, and we'll talk about more support via herbs, food, and that type of thing. So you'll get more personalized guidance and support that week and more hands-on coaching throughout the week. So if you want more accountability, deeper understanding, and anything like that, that's what we'll be doing during that VIP hour. And then from that, we'll go into the general admission. So check that out. And I look forward to doing that challenge with you. But we have one more week of workshops as well next week. So yes, it is only $27 for all 5 days. So yes, that's a great deal. So definitely share it with all your friends. And then, yeah, $97 for all 5 days is also, fantastic for 2 hours of interaction and support. That is a great, thank you, Nicole. All right. So one more activation point. I want you to choose one rhythm area that feels like it's more scattered right now. So is it your morning rhythm? Your meal rhythm? Is it around hydration, sleep, movement, stress, or your evening? Which one do you think it is? Don't choose all 7. All 7 of them might be out of sync, but just choose one. Sleep. I see sleep in the chat. Meals. Meals. I'd probably say for me, it's probably, Belva says meals. I'd probably say for me, it's probably, I could go between a couple of them. So I would probably, right now, I'd say sleep.
What were all of them again? Meals, sleep, stress.
Morning, meals, hydration, sleep, movement, stress. Well, right now I would have to say movement since I'm walking around on crutches. So right now it's movement.
Right.
Stress, evening. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Morning, meals, hydration, sleep, movement, stress, and evening rhythms.
Got it.
All right.
Stay with meals since I'm trying to focus on that.
Okay. Oh, Nicole changed hers to stress. All right. The reason we just want to do one is because focusing in on one gives your mind and your nervous system and you more clear focus. And Nicole's going to laugh. She's probably back there laughing at me right now because she also works with me business-wise. So she knows that I am like a squirrel. I'm like, oh, I can do this. Oh, squirrel. Harry, you probably know the same feeling. Yes, she is. She's laughing. But having one clear focus creates more traction than having 10 vague goals. I know, Nicole. I know exactly what you're thinking. Beth, write this down. So write down that first rhythm area that you just wrote down. And again, we're just identifying it tonight. We're not solving it. We're just identifying the starting point. Nicole put on there, we have this on recording. Hold me accountable. Oh. And so identifying what that goal is for you, what that rhythm that you're struggling with right now, identifying that starting point for you. That's how we keep this more hopeful instead of having it become more overwhelming. So, knowing what these are, if you join me in the 5-day challenge, and especially as a VIP, we will go deeper into each of those areas that week. But right now, we've identified them. And so this way, you have already said to yourself, your mind, your body, your nervous system, meals is my struggling point. So now I know that I have a starting point to begin this rhythm. Does that make sense? You've identified the struggle. Yes, so VIP would start for you, yes, at 6:30 Central. Yep, 6:30 Central. So the T in rest would be take the next guided step. And that's where this awareness of what your struggle becomes the action. And this is where I want to be very clear that tonight's workshop is not designed to give you this entire 5-day challenge workshop layout, right? Because it wouldn't serve you well if I dumped everything about meals or stress or even movement on myself into just one night. This has already gone long enough. So because more information doesn't always create change, it creates mental clutter. So identification of it is the first starting step. All right. So the next guided steps for the identifying and moving forward with it would be the 5-day challenge. So tonight we started shifting this narrative of how can I make myself feel safe and take the pressure off. And we did that by talking through on how are some of the tips not random, but selective, and how can we start implementing them so that we start feeling safe. So this is where each week, as you saw last week, started to build on this week. Next week will build, and then the 5-day challenge will bring it all together. All right. So I want you to go from I heard a good idea to I know what to do next. The dates of the 5-day challenge are the 23rd through the 27th. It's that week of Memorial Day week.
I was going to say on the page that you sent, it says the 25th to the 29th. So right after,
25th through the 29th. That's right.
right after Memorial Day.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry, not the 25th.
I was trying to type fast enough to help you out, but it didn't work fast enough.
Yes, I have it right here in front of me too on the screen. It's right there. 25th through the 29th.
It's good.
Yep. So, all right. And I want you to know that there's a difference between understanding a concept and saying, I can actually apply this in real life. You've got it on a sticky note. I love it, Cindy. Okay. Yeah. 7:30 Central every night, unless you sign up for VIP, and then it would be 6:30 to 8:30.